First, let's look at the sanding and refinishing of an epoxy glass pole.
Inspect the pole for any damages such as impact areas that may affect the mechanical or electrical properties of the tool. If only sanding is required, use the abrasive pad, emery cloth, and Moisture Eater 2 cleaner solvent to remove the old finish. Once that is done, wipe the area down with Moisture Eater 2 to remove any contaminants. Mix up the 2-part gloss restorer or pigmented orange finishing paint and pour into a squeeze bottle. Use a foam brush to apply a uniform coat on the pole. Let dry for 24 hours, and if additional coat is required, apply second coat after the first is cured.
Now, let's look at the patching of an epoxy glass pole.
Mix up the epoxy glass bond patching kit per the instructions. Apply liberally in the damaged area. Smooth out using cellophane tape around the patch area to help. Let dry for 24 hours. Remove the tape and sand the area smooth. Reapply the gloss restorer to the patched area to seal the pole surface. Let dry for 24 hours before putting the tool back in service.
Next, let's look at the installation of a universal head.
Cut off the damaged universal fitting. Measure the depth of the universal ferrule. Sand the pole from the end down the pole the depth of the ferrule with sandpaper or emery cloth. Wipe sanded area with Moisture Eater 2 cleaner solvent to remove any foreign material. Mix up the epoxy glass bond patching kit per the instructions. Apply the epoxy bond to inside of ferrule and the sanded area of the pole. Install ferrule to correct depth, be sure it's fully seated. Drill one 1964 hole through one side of the ferrule at the midpoint. Install spiral drive pin. Wipe off any excessive epoxy that may have squeezed out of the ferrule.
Last, let's look at plugging the pole and the installation of a butt swivel.
Cut the damaged end of the stick off to the desired length. At cut end, remove the foam to a dimension of 4 inches. Use epoxy glass plug kit, mix up epoxy per the instructions. Fixture the pole in vertically and pour the plug mix into the top of the pole. Let cure for 24 hours. Sand the pole from the end down to the depth of the ferrule measurement with sandpaper or emery cloth. Wipe sanded area with Moisture Eater 2 cleaner solvent to remove any foreign material. Mix up the epoxy bond kit, individual packet or quart container, per the instructions. Coat the inside of the butt swivel ferrule with epoxy and also the sanded area of the pole. Install the butt swivel onto the pole. Be sure it's fully seated onto the pole. Wipe off any excessive epoxy that may have squeezed out of the ferrule and smooth the epoxy out around the bottom of the ferrule. Using a 17/64-inch drill bit, drill holes in the center of the 4 bosses. Do not drill completely through the ferrule.
Drill to a depth of about ½ inch.
After drilling the 4 holes, install the 4 fluted drive pins. Be sure that the pins are flush with the ferrule and do not protrude above the ferrule. Set the tool aside and let dry for 24 hours.